Should I talk about myself a little bit?
Okay.
All right. Actually, I start to think about to be a lecturer to be my occupation. I think many years ago, back after I graduated for about a year or less than a year. I think that I was working in EGAT, Electrical Generating Authority of Thailand, in Nonthaburi, and I felt that the work wasn't really challenging. So I thought about that. What kind of work would be more challenging than what I had at that time? Then the lecturer or professor work in university came up. Thought that would be a better place for myself. That's the starting point.
That is more challenge for you.
It's kind of a less boring job because you have to deal with a few things, and also you have a larger environment to think. If you want to think, that the university is the better place than a company or any government official work, I think.
Okay. Next is what is your favorite thing in your work?
Yeah, well, that's what I told you before. It's the environment. This place allows you to think, try, and also do something that it's out of the box, as people used to say, out of the box.
Okay. And what is your ultimate goal in your job?
Well, not anymore. Used to be ultimate goal. It's basically to do something that more challenging, research, interesting research, and well, I think the position of lecturer changing under your control, basically from lecturer to assistant professor, associate, and professor. It's actually under your control. People might think that the goal would be a full professor, but it's not my goal. My goal basically to do something that probably different than what we had at this point. That's my goal. As I told you before, it changed because the life is actually dynamics, changing with the time. So your goal might be changed up and down or differently. So the goal at this point is not that. The goal at this point is to actually work on something that probably useful. It doesn't matter how it's gonna end up, but useful.
Okay. Next is in your opinion, what is the most necessary skill for your career?
Well, responsibility.
And why?
Because if you don't have that, then your student wouldn't get anything from you. You probably have to go on and do something differently from year to year, even though it's the same subject that you might have to think about. That you may have to take. Actually, you should take information from different years, and also to process and to get out with something new, a better way to do your job. Similarly to research and other things, but I think mostly responsibility is the most important part.
Um, Next is what is influence of your career on the country?
Well, a difficult question. Influence people or any or situation or what do you really mean on this?
It's about just people to improve the country like that.
Well, I think my situation different than other. I think in this university they have two groups of lecturer or professors or academics career. One is basically the government officer. The other part, which is a larger part, is basically under the what's that called it's also a government but not officer. It's government. What would I say? Government controlled or kind of a company officer. I wouldn't be able to think about that word. Anyway, there are two groups. I'm in a government officer sector, which I think most important thing about my career is basically eventually after I retire, government will still actually support me throughout my life, even though the base salary is lower than the other part, but once they actually going to take care of you for the rest of your life. At this point, it's your job to do the best that you could throughout your career with honor and actually with the responsible. That's what I would say.
Okay. Next is how is English important in your work?
You have to read. You should be able to read the textbook and other material related to your work fluently. Basically, you need to really understand what it means in the text or in the academic paper or any other things that relate to your life. That's the important part of the English. It may not be really important for me to be able to communicate with the people using English, especially with the Thai student, because what I communicate through English, it's probably get through you probably less than half. But if I communicate with you in Thai, it basically gonna get through you 100%. Whether you can take it all or you couldn't, but at least you know what I really talk about. But for English, you have to translate it.
Yes.
Sometimes you couldn't really translate it right away. You're supposed to take some time to do it. Then the message within the language, in our case is engineering, the basic engineering or even applied engineering, the subject wouldn't be able to get through with English easily.
Yes.
So for me, the important part is how to understand the material well enough to send through you, to basically be able to translate that and send to you in Thai.
Okay. That's great. It's the last. Please give advice for student who is study is studying in English.
Okay. So basically, if you think about the way we learn language,
Okay.
that's what I think. The way we learn language, we start from listening.
Yes.
You probably have to spend more time listen to something, music, movies, and all those kind of things. YouTube for your information on academics as well. I actually think that probably if you like movie, probably help a lot. If you listen to a movie very often, don't turn on the caption, don't use the translated version, use the English version. You would be able to understand or actually help you to translate it
Yes.
faster and faster. Once you have that, then you'll be able to listen to some other thing else easily. That's the starting point. But everything about this, you have to try. You have to spend time. You have to be patient on doing everything, listening, reading, or even try to learn how to speak. It's really trial and also patient work. It's also experiences, because just like our language, just like Thai language, English has idiom, has a way to transfer information differently than just what we know. So movies help.
Yes. Okay. That is really have many benefits for your advice.
Hopefully it would be useful.
Yes. Okay. So this is end of
The end of the conversation. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Yes. Thank you. ครับผมมากผมชอบอันสุดท้ายมากเลยสุดยอดมีประโยชน์มากโอเคครับ